Samantha, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome in l'écho du mercredi, the economic magazine of Maurice Info. So, how have you lived that second wave of COVID-19?
Dear me, well now it's a Thursday getting back to a more normal life, let's say, with the second round of the deconfinement. I must say that I'm fairly lucky that I have my family around me, so that's good. I'm also working mainly in communications and digital media, which means that as compared to some other activities in Mauritius, that we are able to continue more or less as we are.
We can say that it was shorter, 50
It was shorter.
days, and
Right, yes.
everything was running more or less smoothly in the country. It was
Yes.
not that hard we had in 2020.
Well, that's right. After 2020 was obviously a shock because nobody had ever had to deal with anything like this before. No one knew how to organise themselves. It's like all the things to do with schooling of the kids online was a huge challenge, even for the kids that never did it before. I'd say now my kids are able to do it themselves. They upload their own documents. I think that's like the shock this time wasn't really there. Everybody can manage.
When you heard the first cases around your PA, it's not far from Iban.
No,
What was your state of mind? Okay, we are going to go into confinement once again. Not
yes,
bad.
well, in fact, I think that many of us were caught out because the front page of the feed, in particular the day before, had been to say a regional confinement around Cupid, Floreal, and all the rest. And me, I'm living in Catrabon, so I thought, well, probably we'll be okay then, like at least for now. And then, of course, there was the national lockdown. So I think then everybody was slightly taken by surprise that we were all in it again.
When you heard that there was constituencies 15, 16, 17, it's next door to Catrabon, you were on that red.
We were on the edge.
First time we should talk about red zone.
Indeed, that's right, exactly. Well, me, I live just on the border of 18, so I can see 17 out of my window. So it was a bit close for comforts. But well, I'd say overall, I think that the country has coped pretty well this time, and I think the fact that now the number of cases is really on the decline, that we can only hope now we don't have a new problem with any new variants, people starting to come back into the country. We have to be careful.
Was it easier to go on that confinement that started on the 10th of March this year, when the Prime Minister announced that tomorrow we are going to close down and that only shops will be open?
Yes, well, I say there was a bit of surprise because I was more expecting that regional lockdown, but nonetheless, I think the level of shock was not there because we could already hear a lot of rumours going around, a lot of things on WhatsApp. This one is
business community.
Exactly, but I think even in the community there were already a lot of rumours. So I think that the shock wasn't really there. Everybody was sort of half expecting it. That we were hearing this and that. So I think that overall, I think that now let's hope that we're now in the stage where we're just beginning to go back to normal. Let's hope that we're not now plunged back into another third wave. We have to hope for that.
So was it easy to tell your team to go, okay, I'm sorry, or I'm happy to tell you that you are going to work from home?
But because we work in sort of media industry and communication, that it's most of the time is that it can be done from home, it can be done from anywhere. So I would say that our own activities in publishing, communications, PR, it's not at all disrupted. In fact, it's only the fact that you can't go to meet clients, you can't go to physical events which have been cancelled. I would say for the day-to-day work, and say so much of our work is digital media, website content. You can do that from anywhere really. And so there are even times that we actually get even more demand for our services in some ways, because then people tell us, now we want to move our things online, can you help us with our introduction to our webinars instead of a physical event? So it actually generates an additional line of work in particular areas. So we are lucky really.
But for a boss, when you have your family, your kids running here, husband, it's not easy to do everything whenever you are very calm in your office in a band.
No, it's true. It is true. But the best thing to do is, like me, I'm someone that wakes up very, very early. So the best thing to do to cope with it all is to get up very early, do all the important things where you must concentrate very well. Do it before 9 o'clock in the morning. Do it at 6. Do it at 7. And then for all the bits and bobs, calling people, checking things. This you can do while you've got because I have 3 kids. So you've got like Zoom, and then my own Zoom call, and then my own client work. So but it's manageable. Now I think we're coming to the end of it.
I don't know, maybe you went to some supermarket to buy something.
Yes, from time to time, yes.
How are you feeling? compared to 2020, 2021 was as if I did ask myself, are we in confinement?
Well, indeed.
Oh, we have seen so many cars, so many business. Everyone is wondering business as new normal.
Well, indeed, I would say about 2 weeks ago when we were still in confinement, I went on a Saturday to go into some things for our new house that we're building with my husband. We arrived in the Bagatelle shopping mall. It was full. And in fact, only 1/3 of the population should have been allowed out that day based on the alphabetical system. In fact, that car park was completely full. So I would say looking around, you would never know there was a confinement going on. Everyone with that surname was there in that car park, you know. And,
when we compare the situation, maybe in England, you see in England, France, Australia, New Zealand. We don't talk about India where the situation is at the worst.
Yes.
We see, but we were doing once again better. We had that confinement, we have all that rules, but we were at ease, very at ease. We were, as Mark Twain says, we were in paradise.
We were in paradise, indeed. But I mean, what I believe, you know, throughout all of the different confinements that we've had, including last year, is that like what you do at the first instance is like it sets your fate. It's like, I mean, I was telling everyone in the UK last year that people said we're in lockdown. That wasn't a lockdown. There was nothing which represented a lockdown. You know, everybody was out and about. Everybody was out walking all day, exercising all day. You know, it's like that nobody was at home. So
there was a lot of WAP also too, and work access permit.
Indeed, but also indeed, but I would say that like the problems I see in Europe is that people were too slow at the beginning. They didn't take it seriously at the start, and like if you haven't contained it in the first like 2 weeks, then you're finished. But I think that here we've been quick each time.
Last year, Samantha, we were touched by lockdown, by COVID-19, coronavirus. This year was red zone and vaccination.
Yes.
Vaccination. When you heard that we had AstraZeneca, we had COVID shield from India, you were at ease. You say, okay, we are going to get vaccine, we get the second dose, and we are going to live happy again.
Well, I would say when it comes to the vaccinations, that I haven't yet taken that step of being vaccinated, and the main reason for that is that I've been watching all these WHO press conferences that I watch for our own website, which is called Platform Africa. So we watch the WHO Africa conferences all the time. We see what's coming, what's the impact, you know, what are the kind of efficacy levels and all the rest of it. And the main concern that I have is to say, what's going to be the impact if you take a drug which has not been you know, they call it avalisé, approved by the WHO, what's going to happen then if you turn up for a conference in Paris or in London? That you're going to turn up with a certificate, and then what if they tell you, oh, but we haven't recognised this, that it's not AstraZeneca, it's not Pfizer, it's not Moderna. What's going to happen if you end up getting vaccinated with something which is then later on not accepted by those European authorities? Because as I'm someone coming from Europe and I intend at some point to go to Europe for meetings, for meeting family and so on. So this is the reason why I was waiting to see a bit what's going to happen with the vaccine, and also that at least the WHO Africa are saying that Johnson & Johnson's vaccine will be coming, like let's say in the second or third trimester of this year, and also that we should be receiving it here in Mauritius. So if the Johnson & Johnson one is one single dose, and if that also works, then this can be another good option.
So what I can understand from Samantha, but the name of your vaccine that you're going to take might make you not to enter on European soil because you have not taken what they have decided to be the standard. You can have Pfizer, AstraZeneca, or I don't know what Johnson & Johnson, but we had Covishield here in Mauritius.
Well, see, but Covishield is still being made by AstraZeneca, so that's one thing. But now we have others that are coming in, which are not being used in the UK or in other parts of Europe, let's say, and which don't yet have the WHO approval. I mean, it seems that some of them will relatively soon, but not yet. So I would say, so this is why, I mean, it's a purely personal position. I mean, I can be completely mad or wrong, but at least for now, I'm just waiting to see a bit, to see what other vaccines are we going to get in Mauritius, and then let's see like which seems like the best option in terms of other, you know, it's like the vaccine passports factor.
But for what we see, you and I, You don't know which vaccine you're going to take. When it will be your turn, it will be my turn.
Indeed.
Maybe you won't be on AstraZeneca, you will be on Sputnik,
Sputnik
5, or you can be on Sinopharm from China. You don't have the choice to choose.
Well,
definitely Pfizer won't be in Mauritius. This will be a sure. But are you going to wait for Johnson and Johnson to wait, because this thing is now controlled by the EDB, Economic Development Board. But whenever you're going to receive that email, you will have to go. You have no choice, no choice of choosing. I want this vaccine or that.
No, that's true. But that's a disadvantage that we have, because let's say in Dubai, for example, where I have family there, that you turn up in Dubai, you can have any vaccine. You tick a box, they have all of them. But that's not the same in Mauritius and in most of Africa. It's not at all the same. So well, anyway, but on these fronts, that's my overall position is wait and see a bit.
Let's come to the business perspective.
Yes.
What sort of communication that maybe a normal promotion company should be doing on the first day of the restart after the second cap? What type of communication?
Well, I think that one of the first things that everybody should have is a sort of a crisis communication plan, because one of the things that we've seen with some companies in Mauritius is that they've been completely overwhelmed, where suddenly a member of their family, if it's a family business, or an employee has suddenly caused COVID, and now you have a huge problem where all of those people that have been concerned are all taken up, carted off to quarantine. So this creates a lot of problems for your business. It creates a lot of practical problems. It creates, reputational problems that people will be afraid to deal with you and so on. So I'd say like today, here we are, the first day of the second deconfinement. So I would say, first of all, have your communication plan ready. It's like make sure that you have all of your, all your emergency phone numbers. Make sure that you're able to reach all the right people that are needed. Because what happens if your CEO, your CFO, and everybody gets taken off to quarantine? They may not be able to run the business in the usual fashion. So I would say that your first priority is to be ready with your crisis material. Say you can have a health crisis, you can have an economic crisis, you can have several crises at the same time. So this would be my view, to say be ready with your crisis plan. This is the first thing.
Isn't it? Before I've been saying like you're monitoring everything that is being said and written in Mauritius.
Oh, yes, certainly, yes.
But the main message that we are open, we are reopening, we are open.
Yes.
Strict sanitary measures.
Of course, yes.
And there's no more alphabet, and you can come and go. This is the main message. Yes. Are they right to tell that it's okay to come at my place and do your purchase? Or do your activities?
Yes, so depending on what type of business you're in. I mean, if you're like, say, a supermarket, you're attracting a lot of people on a daily basis. I mean, since supermarkets have remained open throughout, they now need to make sure that, say, on a Saturday, that they don't have that overcrowding. Because now, if everyone's going to turn up at once, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning at Winners down the road, there will have to be still, reminders, publicity to say that, like social distancing must still be followed. There are certain rules and protocols that must be reminded, because people have a bit of a tendency to say, oh, well, okay, we're out, we don't need to go up, we can just go, and then they will forget that there's still, still a risk within the community. So I'd say for those which are dealing with a lot of people, like irregular people, you have people coming from everywhere if you're a supermarket. So this is something that must be maintained clearly.
From the reader perspective, what sort of information that he is looking for? Cheaper price is going. We say type of communication.
Yes.
But these companies have been closed for, we say 50 days or so.
Indeed,
some are there. There's a problem of cash flow.
No, indeed.
They are going to sell them on sales, on promotion, on home delivery. What other information from the reader's consumer perspective to have?
Yes,
what are going to say to them? Okay, you want to vessel chairs, you want to sell these chairs, you need money to make the company back on the floor again.
Well, that's right, exactly. I mean, it's a bit of I've been looking around in some sales for shopping and promotions and whatever. And the first shop I went to the other day told me that the sale finishes today itself. I said, but nobody's even come to your shop yet, so why would you be closing the sale now? So, I mean, you've got a kind of a tension where, on the one hand, the people are expecting promotions, and also people like, you know, the man in the street, he hasn't got enough money as compared to normal because he hasn't been working, he hasn't done any overtime, you know, I mean, people are a bit tight in their own pockets. But then you've got the, you know, the sort of the merchants, the commercial, you know, shops, and all of these need to try to recover all of the money that they've lost. So they're not really keen to offer huge amounts of promotion. They can't really afford to give money away. But then you still have to make sales. So I'd say for every sort of, you know, merchant, shopkeeper, you've got to find the right balance between getting some sales on the one hand, but not giving away everything for free on the other.
So it's you must be persuasive to tell bad boss, okay, 15 rupees not okay, but 12.50 or 13 rupees, it might go.
Yes, that's it. I mean, I would say, let's take the construction industry, for example, where I'm also, say, building a house for now. It's like that the people, the contractors, will tell you that, in fact, now their quotes have to be, you know, increased because the cost of materials has risen.
Fuel.
Indeed, that's right. There's a problem of fuel. There's a problem of availability, of stock shortages. So I would say, so pricing for all kind of products now is going to be tricky.
So you better wait. Instead of moving in your house, let's say at the end of August already, because of that to go, you say, okay, but you know, stock will go up, price will. I mean, you will tell your husband, you know, if September is not a thing, we go November, December, maybe. It will cost less than going
now. Yes,
in a rush.
Indeed, it's a bit of a gamble, I'd say now, for things like that, things to do with contractors, supplies, that we're in a bit of an awkward place because we haven't been receiving the normal level of stocks for all kind of things, for food, for equipment, for wood, you know. It's so it's been a bit of a strange time. So there are many reasons to wait and see for a few weeks.
Yes, we've seen your hat of mother, constructor, project manager,
yes.
Communication. The fifth one is that you're an ambassador.
Yes, for the Women in Africa initiative. So this is something which I'm very, very keen and happy to promote, which is the Women in Africa initiative. Then it is the first and leading African platform for the economic empowerment of women. So what does that mean in practice? To say, if you look across the African continent, around 1 in 4 women is an entrepreneur. That the African sort of like culture is not one which is about safety nets and the state giving you supplies and whatever. It's like you have to take care of yourself and you have to take care of your family. And there was one report by the African Development Bank a few years ago that said if you look at the income of African women in sub-Saharan Africa, that around 90% of the money that they gain is invested into education, into health, into nutrition. So if you can empower these women across all the different African countries, it's like then you can really transform the society for the long term. So the Women in Africa initiative is something I've been involved in for around 2 to 3 years now. And one of the things I'm very excited about is a competition to join a program which is called the WIA54. And the deadline for the applications for this year is in fact the 7th of May. So if you're watching and listening to this, then you need to quickly go onto the WIA platform. But how the program works in broad terms, it's been going since 2017. So how it works, the idea is that you've got 54 African countries and you've got women entrepreneurs all around in all different sectors. So how it's going to work this year is that, say in Mauritius and in all other countries, there are going to be 10 finalists per country, and then there will be one country winner, and then there will be what they call 9 revelations, that across all the different countries you will have a winner in certain sort of segments or sectors. So those could be, for example, education, digital, agriculture, creative industries, and several others that you can find on their website. So the idea is that women entrepreneurs in Mauritius, what can you get from this? So the first thing that you get, even if you're a finalist or a final winner, you can get many opportunities for training and coaching. And this is coming from really big, sort of global corporations and organizations. So you have, for example, like a Total Foundation, you have AXA, you have Société Générale from France, which is one of the very large sponsors. So how it works is that if you apply for the scheme now and you are accepted, and then you will have the opportunity to join virtual boot camps. You will get, like, if you are a winner in a country, then you can get individual mentoring and training. So, and what does that training lead to in business terms is that you have the chance to actually pitch to real investors. I mean, even at the application stage, you're asked to attach a pitch deck to show something about your company. And I'd say the scheme is quite flexible as well. It doesn't have to be like a big company that you're in. You can be a solo entrepreneur, like a solo entrepreneur woman, and you can apply for the scheme. You could also say have set up a company with your husband, that it's like 50% owned by you, 50% owned by him. It's like, as long as you can prove from your application that you do have a real role and a real purpose in that business of like 50%. Then that is also something which is acceptable. So what the WIA program is really setting out to do is to find those future African leaders, for the next generation. It's looking for projects that can demonstrate a real social impact. It's looking for those projects that can actually expand in Africa, in different countries as well. So if you look on the WIA website, which is, I'll give the link. So it's WIA, WIA-initiative.com. So all of the application information is there. There is an information session, FAQs, and so on. But altogether, the purpose of this program is to provide, like, for 1 year after the person wins or becomes a finalist, like a whole sort of scheme of mentoring, coaching, and learning how to pitch and how to deal with investors. So
do you think that will interest women entrepreneurs in Mauritius?
Yes, I think definitely it will. I mean, I've already had messages from a number of people who've applied, some in the digital sphere, for example. Because another thing which is interesting about the scheme is that it doesn't have to be, although there needs to be a track record, like you need to be able to show that you have some first traction on the marketplace, that it doesn't have to be a formalized company. Like, you don't have to have an administrative entity. It can be a very informal business. And the reason why the scheme works like this is that there are many countries in Africa where it's extremely difficult and also expensive to actually set up a corporate entity. So the women in Africa, looking at it more from the potential perspective of what that women entrepreneur can do, is to say, like, let's show us some of your figures, show us like some of your turnover, to tell us about some of your client, or try to give us some figures that show us something about your business. But it does not actually have to be formalized. It can still be in the stage, let's say, of a project and not of an actual corporate. So I would say for women in Mauritius, even those, in times of COVID, that in the last year or this year, that you've started up, an activity, you've got some ideas, but you don't really have the wherewithal to progress it, that you haven't got the contacts, you haven't got the networking, you haven't got the training, and say the scheme is open to anyone that began their business project within the last 5 years. So it definitely needs to be still within the broad sort of startup realm, but I think that it's a huge opportunity for women in Mauritius to get this kind of networking and this type of experience and contact.
What are you waiting for? What type of project? Because I've not heard the magic word like financial plans, and I've not heard business plans, contingency plans. I've not heard this from you.
Okay, so well, let me give you some examples of people that actually won last year, because that makes it very concrete then. So we actually had 2 winners in Mauritius last year, both were in the Southern African category. So the first winner is a lady in the medical field. So her name is Dr. Saloni Kunten Ujada. So she comes from a company called Health Monitor Limited, which is based here in Mauritius. Dr. Saloni is someone that also brings an international experience. And what she had developed was an innovative tool for screening of breast cancer. So not only did Dr. Saloni actually win within Mauritius and the Southern African region, but she actually became the overall African winner in the healthcare sector. So she was one of the winners for Mauritius. And then the second winner we had is a lady called Jessica Naga, who is a lawyer specialized in fintech, among other areas. So she has a company which is called Digital Associates Limited, which is a Pan-African law firm, which is very much specialized in helping this sort of like fintech startups in Africa, like to help them set up their entity, to help them build their business. So Jessica was also one of the winners from Mauritius in the digital and technology category. So both of those had a project which was sort of made in Mauritius, if you like, but it was something that could also be exported to Africa. Whether it's kind of breastfeeding tool is obviously something which is very powerful and important for everyone everywhere. And then also Jessica, to help all of those tech sort of startups, is also something which can be exported to the continent very easily. So I would say, so this is the type of project which has actually won in the past.
For me, the level is very high.
Yes.
Breast cancer,
Yeah,
which
yes.
is something that every woman in the world has to live, pass through one day. And fintech it's nearly the thing, the financial thing of the day. So the level is very high. Are you going to have somebody who is interested to do that in 2021?
Yes, I mean, I'm sure that, I'm very confident that, the women in Mauritius, the entrepreneurs that I know and have seen, that they're actually very motivated and very talented with lots of innovative ideas. I mean, I would say those two are just some examples. I mean, I can give a few other examples of people in other areas that won last year. So there was a lady who won from South Sudan, which is, as you can imagine, a very, very challenging place, very challenging for a women entrepreneur. So the lady, her name is Anna Tazita Samuel. So she runs an organisation called Women for Change, which is actually in the education sector, which was about providing opportunities to teach young people about how to deal with COVID, how to deal with problems of different sorts that people face in society, sort of holding workshops and webinars and so on. There are also some in the creative industries. Like there was one lady who is from Ivory Coast, that she actually comes from, she has a publishing house, and she's like a specialist in providing literature which is about the African diaspora. So it's for those that have gone abroad, then it's like, how do you find your African roots? So this was also a cultural type of project that was a winner. So I would say that it's a very wide range of things, say from creative industries to beauty industries. I mean, one lady that I know, a previous winner as well, actually is partly from Sweden and partly from Somaliland, and she had also developed an organic healthcare range and was also another winner. So you see, you have a very wide range of people from many different backgrounds, from a whole range of sectors. I mean, the one piece of advice I give to anyone applying is to say that you must attach your activity to one of the 8 categories which are there. Because one of those, which is very often presented, is consulting. See, consulting is not a category for women in Africa, although many people are doing it. It's not a category that you can apply in. So if you're a consultant and you're consulting in the education sphere, then you apply under education. If you're a consultant, about sort of websites and technology and so on, then you would apply under the digital and tech category. So you have to find a way to kind of make an affinity between what you do and what are the categories that you can be selected in order to go ahead with it.
I've heard beauty, health, education. These are the 3 main subjects that women like to deal with. And food, there's also food and,
agriculture is another one.
Agriculture, textiles and accessories. These are the fields. There's not something that men do. Something that you want to do. Okay, yes. So these are things that when I do, I see maybe you follow passionately, like me, CNN, Voices Africa. Inside Africa, I see all these stories that you're doing. You're telling me, but I've not seen someone, a lady, creating a pump for relief in Africa.
Well, I would say, like, for those which are like seeking to relieve problems, let's say. I mean, I can also give an example of a lady in Lesotho that was someone that used to work for on UN projects, and then she decided to become an agripreneur. So I would say that there are many rural projects which have been sort of recognised under the WIA initiative, in the WIA54, which is where they're like a woman is actually trying to help the local and rural community by giving them jobs. So this particular lady, say she left the UN projects, she now is like a producer of jam. So she's like looking at different ways to contribute to food security in Lesotho. So I mean, it's a kind of landlocked country sort of within South Africa, which has various problems now related to COVID in particular, because of all the difficulties there. But I would say that that in agriculture is like something which is like it's fundamental to the African economy, and now you see a huge number of initiatives in the agriculture realm, which maybe that all wasn't necessarily seen that women were leading there. But I've seen that in Ghana. I know a woman entrepreneur there that also had new projects to bring in technology to the supply chain in agriculture. So I would say overall, although there are only so many categories which are there for now, maybe they can always be expanded in the future. But I think that I see a huge drive and an innovative spirit amongst those African women, and I'd say, and also among themselves, there is a huge sense of solidarity, of helping my sister. It's like, I am here, but if I have a sister in another country and I can help her, then I'll do everything I can. Which is, I think again, that this is going to build a very strong future for Africa. And we see now that the population of Africa, it's the youngest in the world. Let's say by another 80 years, that will have the largest population on Earth. So I think that the more that the women can do to help, then the stronger Africa will be in the future there.
When you replied some minutes ago, you talk about coaching, mentoring.
Yes.
Whenever you're going to participate, what will she get like a prize?
Yes.
Okay, coaching, I'm
Yes.
used to this. What I'm going to have to participate?
Well, indeed. Well, now, I would say in the past, what used to happen is that you would have a physical boot camp, which was normally taking place in Morocco. Now, for obvious logistical reasons, that no one's able to get there. So now all of those types of boot camps are being held virtually. So you have practical things to do with your financial plan and your strategy. You have sort of marketing things like your storytelling and your branding. So you have all different types of experts that can help you at each and every stage. And this would be in the sort of, let's say, a group virtual boot camp. But for those which are then picked as the country winners, then they will have the chance to have an individual mentoring scheme. And then you can say, well, imagine if I'm someone in the creative industries, I'm coming from publishing, for example. Maybe I don't need all the help with storytelling and branding, but I may be terrible with my financial plan and my financial strategy and so on. So this is why the individual mentoring is going to be very much personalized to what that person really needs. So I think that's also one of the strengths of the initiative, that it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all. It will make sure that each of the winners gets the help that they need. And then for those that end up being, as a kind of overall category winner, or even a gold award, which comes at the very end of the process, let's say around October, November time, then these people will still get more mentoring, more opportunities, and there will be, in some countries as well, there will also be some on-the-ground activities, depending on the COVID situation by later in the year.
What type of activities?
So there's an organisation called Honoris Universities, which is in a number of African countries. So, for example, they are one of the partners. So they would be organising some events in some countries for sort of personalised training and so on. But I'd say for all of this, it's very tentative for now, because we're unable to tell how is the COVID situation going to be in Mauritius or elsewhere, let's say by October, November time. So.
Do these women, Mauritian women entrepreneurs or companies or startups or one-person company need to have a personal engagement in that project if ever they are going to be on the final or to be the country winner or to go stage higher?
Yes, well,
they have to engage themselves personally.
Well, yes. Well, when it comes to the training, then let's say if I'm a solo entrepreneur or if I'm the co-founder of a company, the training is going to be for that particular woman. It's not really a corporate training; it's a personalised training in the sense that the person will be the winner and the person will get trained. It is, although obviously the intention is that if that person can then sort of cascade down their knowledge and training to their company, imagine they have 10 staff, they can also try to share the learnings of that training with them. But primarily it's an individual sort of program for individual people, and it's not really intended to be a corporate program in that kind of sense.
What is going to happen? Let's say I'm going to go to see my banker and say, I'm the winner of WIA in Mauritius. Does that have a weight? Est-ce que ça pèse lourd dans la balance whenever you're going to see financial help? I'm not talking about a loan, but financial help is very ça a du poids.
Well, I mean, what I would say is, like, I mean, the fact of someone being a winner, you know, and also gives them more publicity, it gives some credibility in the first place, which is always helpful when talking to, you know, people in authorities, in banking, and so on. But I would say that, like, I mean, the real advantage is, imagine if the person came along with just, you know, a financial plan that they've just tried to make it up themselves without any external advice. It's like what you're going to have now is you're going to have a real expert, someone from, you know, from an organisation like Roland Berger, you know, a kind of French consultancy firm from Paris. I mean, the way that you're going to advise you to make that financial plan is going to be entirely different to if you sat at home and asked, you know, like your brother, like, you know, help me with my financial plan. I mean, it's going to propel you into a completely different realm of professionalism, and it's also going to give you the chance to liaise and to network with investors, which again is something which is like...
Which is another work.
Yeah, exactly, that's right, because this is something that you cannot do that for yourself. I mean, unless you are hyper-connected, which most people, you know, are not. So now you're going to be, you know, advised by people in the banking realm, from those kind of, you know, sort of high-level consultancies, from, you know, from universities, from different types of organisations that are all dedicated and focused on the training of women. So I'm from those people that have already taken this kind of training, that they said it's invaluable, that it's a kind of insight and you know, an expertise in terms of approach that you get that you will not be able to find it easily elsewhere. So I think it's very much valuable in that sense.
Last question: what will be your advices to a woman but was a bit hesitating enough, but she heard you
Yes.
on Maurice Info? What would you tell her to participate? What are the little pro advices that
Yes.
you can give to her?
Yes, well, I would say that if you're thinking of going ahead, then please do. Like, please try this week itself, because the campaign finishes on the 7th of May. I think that, you know, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose by applying. So what you have to do is you go onto the website, you fill in your personal details, you fill in your company details, and then you attach a document like a presentation or a pitch deck about yourself. That it's not a huge undertaking. It won't take you probably more than half an hour to fill in the whole thing. But the one thing that you do need to have is some financial information about the progress of your company, to show like what's the kind of first market traction that you have. It's like, even if you don't have a corporate entity behind you, that you need to be able to explain, you know, what kind of sales have I had, what kind of client interest I had. So you need to be able to show what your starting point is. Because if this happens, what can't be sort of, you know, promoted is something which is only an idea, which doesn't have any grounding in reality. There must be something to actually show in order for you to be picked as a finalist or even a winner. So I think that is very important, and also the choice of category is extremely important, because in fact you can choose actually two categories. You can have a primary category and you can have a secondary category. So let's say that you're offering services in education, let's say like, you know, to teenagers in COVID, something like this. And so you say, well, which category do I go in? So you have to look and say, which is my core category of what I'm doing? So if I'm in the field of education and I'm actually providing an educational service, but I'm doing it on a technological means like a Zoom or something, then you should apply first in the education category as your first category, and then you can apply in digital and tech as your second category. So you need to make sure that you get the category right, because otherwise you won't be considered necessarily in the right way.
How many entries per participant?
Well, let's say since the competition or the program began in 2017, there have been 9,000 applications across 54 countries. So that gives you at least like some idea. But say the thing which is different this year as compared to past years is that now like 540 finalists will be chosen across the whole of Africa. Whereas what's happened in the past is that you just had the 54 winners. So from that respect, as I've been saying, that it's actually, this program this year is like 10 times better, because you've got 10 times more people that will be able to avail of the benefits of the coaching and training. I mean, the overarching goal of Women in Africa by 2030 is actually to train 10,000 women entrepreneurs, because they've calculated that it will have an impact on 100,000 jobs if you look at the multiplier effect of each of those one women here and there having all of that training expertise, that they will have to be able to grow their business, they can hire people. So this is the overarching goal, to reach that by 2030.
Let's say we have 500 participants in Mauritius.
Yes.
Are they going to be, is it Mauritian panel, is it an African panel? What happens to all these Mauritian entries?
Well, that's
You're
right.
going, but Samantha, you're going to scream everything.
Like, well, me, I'm
this
not-
one
I'm
is
not
okay,
going to
this
scream
one is
anything.
okay, you should have been...
No,
What?
how it will be organised is that, like, at the level of the judging, it will actually be done on the one hand by it's like a jury which is working together with WIA and its own representatives. So, for example, you have a firm, say Roland Berger, which I've talked about earlier on. So I think that this will have a key part in screening the applications, which is based in Paris. So it's going to take a very sort of, a very clear look at the sort of the figures, the potential, and so on. And then you also have the WIA representatives, that also from the sort of the central organisation, that will look at the different entrants. So it's not going to be done like there's no one in Mauritius that will judge that competition.
Okay, there's no local...
No, indeed, that's
not...
right. It's not judged at local level. It's judged at central level, and then the people will be decided upon that basis.
French, English, in what language?
Yes, indeed, that's it exactly. Well, unfortunately, we don't have the capability in Creole, but we do have both English and French. So that is perfectly fine. That when you're filling in the form, you just like click to say which is your primary language that you prefer to be contacted in.
From your past experience, did you have any country report being the panel telling that Mauritius, you're doing so? Let's say whenever we get from Cambridge University for SC, HSC, we have a country report telling French is not good. We should work in these parts of any syllabus. Are you receiving a report telling that Mauritian should do more on that, less on this?
No, I would say that we haven't actually had a kind of Mauritian by Mauritian sort of kind of breakdown. I mean, part of the reason for that is that the winners have also been chosen by region. So it's been looked at more so Mauritius falls within the Southern African region. Yeah. So it's done, I'd say, more looked at regional level than country level. But I would say, as last year, we had one winner in health and we had one winner in digital and tech. And in fact, if we go back to the previous year, then we had one winner then by the name of Nazreen Foucher, and she was someone with a company which is called Orient U, which is in the education sector. So that was also sort of providing coaching to adolescents and so on. So I would say for the past 2 years, we've covered education, we've had health, and we have also had tech and digital. So it already shows we've had a range from Mauritius, even in terms of the winners. And I think that the applicants that we've had, I mean, from others that I personally know who have applied, even if they haven't won, that they've come from many different sectors.
If everyone who is going to apply is already a winner, then?
Oh, well, I really think so.
But for taking that step of participating in that WIA54 is already doing something to win. You're winning against yourself.
Well, indeed. I mean, I'd say even by making the application, it already gives you the chance to organise your thoughts, to think about your business, to say, okay, if I haven't tidied up my pitch deck, it's like now is the time to do it. I need to update my figures. I need to look at like where am I going? How am I going to present that to a potential investor? Because the pitch deck that you've got is going to be the basis that people that are dealing with investors all the time, they are also going to look at you. So it gives you the chance to already, to organise your thoughts, organise your papers and your presentation to see like how could you present that to someone externally that doesn't know you at all.
This is the main question.
Indeed,
whenever you're in front of your brother, your mother, it's very easy.
Of
whenever
course.
and you know that better than me. But when you're in face of investors, you're thinking about profit,
that's right,
graphs,
exactly.
and it's very scary for someone who is not used to that.
Indeed. I mean, it can be a challenge, but it also means that people have a huge amount to learn from, because these are really the experts in investment, experts in development, in branding, in coaching. These are real world-class experts that you have. So, and I mean, also another sort of an innovation, if you like, is that there are also going to be like a kind of what you call a godmother, a marraine, like for each region. So I'm still waiting to hear of the one for the Southern African area, but I can tell you one example that is going to be for West Africa is a lady called Gwen Abiola Oloke, who is someone that I've actually worked with my team in the past, completely by coincidence. So she's someone from the corporate advisory sort of world, and has a company called DI Africa. So you've got real business women who are there to help along the way.
So women in corporate in Africa, they are very present.
Oh yes, very.
From far, but I hear from you, they are very present.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yes, indeed, that's right. So and I mean, I think that the African women mentality is very much that they want to give back. Like if they've started themselves, they may have faced some challenges on the way. They want to pass that learning on to someone starting off, So
this is in Voices of Africa or inside Africa. We see but they are willing to come from scratch and then to delegate and to give a sort of heritage, I would tell you, to another.
Indeed, yes, indeed. I mean, I think that mentoring spirit is something which is like very African in nature, that people want to help their sister. I mean, I see it all the time, on the sort of WhatsApp group that we have for the WIA ambassadors. I mean, every day someone's got a new project, everyone congratulates my sister, like if there's anything I can do to help you, and people will help you. I mean, people call me, from different countries, one from Congo, for example, called me, yes, like I'm very interested in what you're doing, can we work together on our business, this is what I want to do, this is what you can do. People really think of each other. So I think that becoming part of this network is something which is very, very powerful.
Last question, what would you like Samantha to give?
What would I like to give?
Heritage.
Oh, heritage.
To pass on to I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe it's not on your team, maybe it's on a family or someone you would like to give something to.
Well, that's right. Well, I mean, I'd say like myself, if we keep it in the more sort of professional realm, I mean, like the main thing which I'm doing myself, not only in Women in Africa, but also with the Chartered Institute of Public Relations, is actually doing a lot on Pan-African PR training. So working together with Africa Communications Week, which is another network that I am part of, that we've been having recent webinars where we've had participants from all around Africa. Some of the topics have been like AI in PR, what's it all about? It's like a mystery to most people. What does that mean, and how is it going to change the PR and media industry? We recently had one about managing best practices in PR campaigns, like Pan-African campaigns. We also had one on crisis communications. What are the key takeaways to plan your Pan-African work? So I think that this is something which I'm very keen on, to try to help to build that sort of Pan-African talent and training. I mean, myself, I've been in the sort of PR industry for more than 2 decades. So if there's something which I can do to help people, help to promote Africa. And I also have my own website called platformafrica.com, as you know. So I mean, I think that changing the balance of opinion to show that Africa is really the most innovative and dynamic continent on earth, and to tell the real stories of those people that are making a difference on the ground. I mean, that is something which is running through many of my activities. My PR clients, through different trainings and different promotions of competitions like this. So if I manage to make even a small difference to some of those people that win the competition, then I'm happy then.
So happy am I. Thank you very much, Samantha.
Thank you for the interview.
Good luck and good WIA, I think.
Yes, we hope so. Thank you then.